You know the vibes. Welcome to a new year here at the Hoop Genius podcast brought to you by NBA 2K24. You can get your copy from the link in our bio. It is 2K24. We're now in the year 2024. The first episode we've taped in the new year. Monday's episode we taped previously because you know the new year schedule, a little bit hectic. And Momency here as always. BJ Armstrong alongside me. BJ, how was your Christmas, New Year celebrations?
Mo, thanks for asking. And I hope everyone had a, happy holidays, happy New Year. But it was good, Mo. It was good. Kids were home. Now they are heading back to school, the older two, and we're just getting ready. Just as they say, we keep it moving, over here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all good.
Mm-hmm. Well, this year, 2024, when you're a kid, right, BJ? When I was a kid and I envisioned what the future would be like in like 2024, I thought we'd have like flying cars. I thought you'd be able to teleport places. Da, 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 da. We're nowhere near any
You
of
guys
that,
don't
right?
have that there? You guys don't have
Oh,
that?
no, no, that's just for the rich people over in
Oh,
LA. That's just you.
oh, now it's me. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
I
Well, it ain't
I
me.
thought, all right,
It
all
ain't me,
right.
that's for sure.
Okay.
Um, but as you look ahead into the future, maybe we aren't quite as advanced as we would have hoped. However, the thing that is advanced, and you spoke about this a few weeks ago, which said it is something that really fascinates you, is artificial intelligence. That's going to be a big part of the world now in 2024. So I thought to kick this year off, I've asked an artificial intelligence robot to give me 10 predictions for the NBA this year.
Okay.
So these aren't my opinions. This is the opinions of the robots that will one day take over the world. So if you guys are listening, big up to you. It's all love. It's all love. I'm not trying to get caught slipping. But BJ, we're going to go through these 10 predictions, and
Okay.
we're going to see your opinions and my opinions. Are you ready?
Okay.
Opinion number one says LeBron James will see a significant decline in his performance in 2024, no longer being a top 10 player in the league. Now, LeBron James defies time, but the one reason why I could see someone having this opinion is the amount of strain the Lakers are having to rely upon him for right now. And the amount of minutes he has to log, the amount of scoring load he has to carry. And is that going to be sustainable throughout the rest of this regular season, the NBA playoffs, and then heading into the Olympics, and then next season as well? Are you expecting to see a decline in LeBron's game in 2024?
Well, it depends on how you define decline. And
Well, they said no longer a top 10 player.
okay, that's a very subjective, it's a subjective opinion.
That's right.
Okay. So, we all have different things that we value. Some people will say scoring. Some people will say win share. Some people will say stats and minutes played and so forth and so on. Now, the narrative that we are defying father time and all those things, well, those are very subjective views that we have here in the media. However, there's one thing, Mo, that's very consistent is the significance of winning. That's how team sports is measured. That's how sports is measured in general. However, we want to ignore that because everyone has their own things that they value. Now, winning is the only thing that matters. That's it. If you are in sports and you have, well, I'm averaging this, I'm getting these numbers, I'm okay, that's great. However, in the end, the last game of the season is what matters most.
Mm-hmm.
And as we age, Mo, there's a thing, effort and energy can be observed, right? It can be observed. And does it go away? Some games he will actually play to a level you'll say, wow. And I've said it years ago. I said, just give me what you got at this age. I've said,
When I build the BJ Armstrong robot with artificial intelligence, that's going to be one of the catchphrases. What
just
you
give me
got.
what you got. That's it. Now you're asking what he's 30, what, 39
39
now?
now. Happy birthday,
Okay,
LeBron, for a few days
yes,
ago.
39. And as you age, okay, it's one thing that deteriorates with age. That's speed and quickness. He'll always be 6'8", 250 or 260, whatever he is. So you have speed and quickness, you have size and strength. He'll always have size, and he'll always be strong. What you traditionally see as people age is they begin to play against bigger players because you don't utilize your speed and quickness as much. I just saw him a week or two ago after the play-in tournament, or it's been more than 2 weeks now.
Yeah, it's been about a month.
He's now gone to the point guard position. And
Yeah.
I thought that's interesting.
The Lakers
I
played a
thought,
lineup of like all power forwards. It was like LeBron, AD, Torian Prince, Jared Vanderbilt, and I can't remember who the fifth. But it was all power forwards. Cam Reddish. All guys that could play the four.
Yeah, so I thought that's interesting. But again, it is what's your significance and contribution to winning? That to me is what it's all about. Now, I don't know what the AI sees, and I don't know what the AI values. But what I do know is that you got to find the right combination as a player, as your coaching staff, executives, as your team, that's going to contribute to the bottom line. And that's it. And as I watch him, I know he still can contribute. Now, at what position? Okay, that's debatable. And that's what the Lakers right now are trying to find out. And, I think that's just, some things never change. And that's why I don't get distracted by all of these other observations, because in the end, we know what contributes to winning basketball. We must defend, we must rebound, and we must share the ball. And if LeBron is still going to be your best player or one of, we better find out what position he can defend.
That's another catchphrase going in the BJ
Yeah,
Armstrong robot.
It's all of this other stuff.
I'll tell you this though. I'll tell you this.
Distractions. What is he going to do?
My opinion hasn't changed. I disagree with the robot. If you have one series or one game, you can't name 10 players I'd rather take over LeBron James. If you put it in the context of 82 games plus or 84 games now with the in-season tournament, plus the play-in and the playoffs, then it becomes tricky. Father Time being undefeated. But speaking of Father Time, the prediction number 2 is that the Golden State Warriors, despite their strong history, will miss the playoffs in 2024 due to aging stars and a lack of defensive depth. Do you think the Warriors are going to make the playoffs this season, BJ?
Well, it's really hard because I want to look at it and say, okay, here is what it is. When it ends, Mo, it's going to end bad.
Another catchphrase for the BJ robot.
Okay, yeah, it's going to end. It's going. This is going. No one escapes this journey that the Warriors are on.
Yeah,
no one escapes.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the key thing is to tell me why it's going to end bad. That's the key. Don't say it.
Well, even if we don't look at the Warriors themselves, let's just say we look at the Western Conference, right? If we list out the teams, you got the Timberwolves, who are number 1, the OKC Thunder number 2, Denver Nuggets number 3, the Clippers are number 4, the Kings are number 5. Let's say those 5 teams are a lock for the playoffs right now. Then you've got the Pelicans, the Mavericks, the Suns. I think those 3 teams should also consider themselves locks for the playoffs. So really and truly, they're 8 very good teams in the West already. And then the tier below, you've got the Rockets, the Lakers, and the Warriors. And then the Grizzlies could make a late run for the play-in as well. And then essentially you have the Jazz, Portland Trailblazers, and San Antonio Spurs who are rebuilding. So I think just numerically, based on the amount of good teams they have in the Western Conference, I could see this happening. Because which of the teams that I listed ahead of the Warriors do you see dropping out of that race, aside from major injuries occurring?
Things happen. injuries occurred, like you just mentioned. Suddenly the Warriors has a favorable schedule. When I say favorable to the strength of their team, right? Maybe they play better on the road. Maybe they play whatever they do. However, I've been saying this now, and this isn't anything new. Once you have a level of success, the other executives begin to build their team that will counter whatever the best teams do. They've had a level of sustained success for a decade or so. Just like right now, the Denver Nuggets are kind of the team that everyone is watching. And the team now that's currently in first or second place, I didn't look at the standings today.
Timberwolves will be first.
The Timberwolves, they're built around the following. They know that if they're going to beat or compete against Jokic, who looks like he's going to be here for the next decade, I might add.
If he doesn't want to go and play with his horses instead.
Yeah, you can't play small against him. The final position that learned how to play small ball was the center position. And it took them, and I say them, because the coaches had to figure out how to incorporate size and length in small ball because everybody started playing 6'5" and below. Everyone started shooting threes. That means they got farther away to the basket. No one was running post-up plays, Mo. And now that everyone has caught up with that style of play, the Warriors, like everybody, what's your unfair advantage in the game of basketball? So people say things like that comment, but tell me why. The Lakers, the Warriors had an unfair advantage. They gave it a term. They said it was their death lineup.
Mm-hmm.
They went small, they could defend, and they took away a very valuable component to most teams' offensive sets, screen roll. That's what they did. They could switch anywhere on the court, 1 through 5, and they felt very comfortable with that. And that was a little ahead of its time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, why are they not going to make the playoffs? Because now every other team, and in particular, the five position has caught up. So give an example. Brook Lopez, he's now a stretch 5. Jokic, Embiid. Now we take power forwards, Giannis, move him to the 5. You saw other players now playing, LeBron James, for instance, started playing the 5. You're seeing other teams now with other players, may not be as effective as a Draymond Green. However, they can match up with them. So other teams now had begun to counter that style of play. Now you're seeing teams get big again. Why? Because if Jokic wins it again this year, you'll start to see a reemergence of everyone playing big.
Well, also, like during that time the Warriors made their run, there weren't that many great bigs in the league. Like who were the best bigs? Who were the best bigs? There weren't bigs challenging for the MVPs of the NBA during the late 2010s.
Because we undermined the position. That's what we did. There were bigs. They just took them out of the game. Everyone went small. Why? Because everyone figured out, said, oh my goodness, we got to play when they come with their small lineup. I remember when they started playing PJ Tucker, for instance, at the 5.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone started playing. There will always be bigs in this league. However, the bigs traditionally have played from the box. And then suddenly when we started playing on the perimeter at the 3-point line, you took away their ability to rim protect. You took away their ability to switch and do things that you would normally do. However, you would defend screen rolls, one-man remove, over the top, funnel defense, and then they took that away. So you're seeing now the bigs, for instance, are Lauri Markkanen. No, those guys are coveted now. Okay, you're seeing Evan Mobley, who played the center position in college. He came into this league playing the small forward position.
Mm-hmm.
So you're seeing things shift. You're just seeing a shift in the game, and the game is constantly evolving. However, the thing that we love about the game, Mo, is that once it gets to the playoffs, once again, it always reverts back at some point. But it always does.
Mm-hmm.
But the regular season is an experiment. because that's the regular season. And the Warriors were one of the few teams who had a style of play that they play in the regular season that you couldn't counter. And then it translated to the defensive end in the playoffs. If you could take away something from a team and they don't have a counter to it, if I just take away your ability to play screen roll, Mo, you take away probably 70-80% of all the team's offensive sets. If you just take away that, they're not even talking about the lineups. They're not talking about the matchups. They're just taking away a set. That's a powerful thing. So give the Warriors credit. They were ahead of their time. And whether they did it by design or they fell into it, they did it. And they were really, really good at it at one particular time. And now, Mo, they've aged a little bit. Guys have retired. You hear me talk about depth all the time. Andre Iguodala is there no more. Sean Livingston is not there anymore. Barbosa is not there anymore. Mo Spates and all of those guys, David West, they're not there anymore. No, we keep talking about the big three. Believe it or not, Mo, they had a group, 9-10 players where they had a lot of depth. And they just don't have that anymore.
And it wasn't just the on-court depth as well. They had guys who were very experienced in the NBA. Now they've got more depth of younger players who aren't as experienced in being in the league and making it to the postseason, etc.
I would argue this. There's only one way to get experience. You got to play.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And you're not going to they're not ready yet to set down Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, or Draymond. Okay? At some point here, they're going to have to make a shift. At some point. Every team does. Now, at some point, Kuminga and Moody, and they've traded some their other young players away. At some point, those young players are going to have to be in their top, 3 or 5 players. That's a fact. That's a fact. It's just what it is. Now, they haven't made that shift yet. And until they do that, we'll keep talking about the old days. The game moves on. It's one thing about the NBA. There's another one tomorrow. And there's gonna be another game. So at some point here, they're gonna have to make a shift. And it's always hard because who wants to be the guy that says, hey, such and such is not going to play tonight?
Or he's going to definitely not Bob Myers, and that's why he left the team. And we'll see if Steve Kerr stays there after this summer. But the third prediction that the AI had for us was that, the AI must be a big Wembanyama fan because it says a rookie will outperform seasoned veterans, claiming the MVP title in 2024, a feat rarely seen in the NBA. Now, I think that's clearly wrong because there's not a rookie that's going to win MVP this season. However, I think it could slightly be right because I think that this year it will be a younger player who wins the MVP, aka Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or potentially Luka Doncic. What do you think, B?
Yeah, the MVP trophy has really kind of fell into it's a weird category. I don't really know what the MVP.
There's a different category because my logic of this is if OKC finished top 2 in the West, I don't see how you can't give Shai Gilgeous-Alexander the MVP. But similarly, you can make a case for Luka Doncic in the same way that people made a case for Russell Westbrook and James Harden with how much they had to carry their team, with what he's putting up, the numbers he's putting up, and winning games for the Dallas Mavericks, despite the absences of Kyrie, who returned just the other night, and a few of the other members of the squad. So that's kind of my rationale in predicting either of those two winning the award. But who's your pick right now as it stands?
We'll see. I mean, this year has been kind of an odd year for me. I think maybe because of the play-in tournament. I don't think there's anyone who's really stands out. No one has really separated themselves from the pack for me. There hasn't been a team that's really said, we're clearly the best team in the league during the regular season. There hasn't been a player that's just totally dominated the game on either end of the floor. I think in a series, I still think Jokic is probably the player that would be most difficult to game plan against at this particular time. Giannis is playing kind of a different style. I'm trying to figure out, what they're doing there in Milwaukee. But I still think those two players are probably the most dominant players to game plan in a series. However, there hasn't been a player for me. Look, I love it what Shea's doing there. I mean, Luka Doncic is Luka Doncic. He's putting up some big numbers.
A lot of
However,
people say MB because of the numbers he's putting up, but you have to factor
and
in
yeah, but
now they have that rule of what is it, 65 games? Does that apply to the
yeah,
MVP award? And that means he can only miss 10 more games this entire season. So he's going to have to avoid 10 more games against good teams for him to win the MVP award.
yeah.
So you're right. There isn't like a clear leader
There,
of the
there
pack
for
because
me, that's
Jokic
just me.
had a tough stretch and Giannis, even though the Bucks I think are much better than people realize, it hasn't been like the hot start to the season that everyone was kind of expecting from them. So it's going to be interesting. But I would like a kind of younger player to win this award because everyone's worried about the future of the league and whatnot. The fourth prediction here says that the Brooklyn Nets, despite having a star-studded lineup, will end up as one of the lowest ranked teams in the Eastern Conference.
Where's the star-studded? What's
I wouldn't
star-studded?
describe the Brooklyn Nets as star-studded.
Okay.
Perhaps this is why the robots can't fully take over yet. They might still be thinking KD and Kyrie are over there in Brooklyn. The Nets are 15 and 18 though right now in ninth place in the Eastern Conference. They are coming over to Europe next week to play in Paris. I'll be over there.
Okay.
But I don't really see them as a playoff team. I think they'll be in the play-in. I don't know if they make it to the playoffs, and if they do, I don't really see them doing very much at all in the first round, unfortunately, for them. I don't know if you see any different.
Well, look, Mikal Bridges and these guys, it's one thing I'll give those guys. They show up. Mikal Bridges is he has been an example of availability since he entered into the league. So as long as players like him and others continue to show and give effort, they'll win their fair share of games. I think the big question is, do they have the capability as a lower seed? Because that's what it looks like. They don't look like they're in the upper
Well,
echelon
they
of
do
the
sit on
NBA.
a whole bunch of draft picks from those KD and Kyrie trades. They could make a move to actually improve their team and become star-studded in some sense.
Yeah, I'm not a Mo, that's a new phenomenon, draft picks. That's a new phenomenon. I mean, I think you and others have more value to, draft picks than I do. Like, I need people who can actually play in the game. Like, okay, so we just talked about with the Warriors, 5 seconds ago about how they're inexperienced, and then we're putting value on draft picks, people who've never even played in the NBA. Let alone we got to get the draft pick right. We got to put together the team right. Chemistry, experience. Give me what you got right here, right now. Like we're valuing something in the future with no experience. Well, Mo, I'm not going to battle with young, inexperienced players. It's not happening.
No,
those players.
That's why it's for rebuilding teams.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So those draft picks and those mean nothing to me right here, right now, in this moment, right? Because these players aren't going to school for 3 or 4 years.
But there are teams who place a big value on the draft picks available.
I don't think there's any team that does. I think it's sold that way.
Okay.
I think it's sold that way. I don't think anyone who's trying to win place value in draft picks because those players can't play in the game.
So why do teams move their stars in exchange for hordes of draft picks?
Again, I think it's being sold that way. If you're trying to win in today's game, you look at any team. They all look for experienced players. Now, the one thing that you do sell, which you can't argue, you can say, hey, we're going to rebuild our team and we're going to get all these draft picks. And everybody goes, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, you still got to draft. You still got to put together the team. That's a 5, 6, 10 year. Sometime you never come back from that rebuild process. It's nothing guaranteed. I remember when they started the process, they're still processing.
Still trying to get out of that second round.
Okay. So all of these people who sell that, okay, if that's how you want to look at it, I'm not here. However, when you want to win, you need those guys like Jeff Green, Bruce Brown, okay, PJ Tucker. Why are all of these veteran players always coveted during the trade deadline? Why, if you're trying to build a team, you're building with experienced players? Because we all know if you want to win in this league right now, you need experienced players who are battle tested. So all of the draft picks, that's fine. I'm not devaluing the future of any organization. However, if you're betting on the future of the generation of those things, Wembanyama doesn't come around but once every 20 or 30 years, if at all.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't tell me that every year there's going to be a guy.
Well, no, unfortunately for your Pistons, there is not looking like a guy in this year's draft.
We're always now. You could sell that. You could sell that, and if you don't understand it, however, you need experienced, battle-tested players.
But this is what I'm saying. The Nets could trade some of their draft picks that they've accumulated for experienced, battle-tested players.
Okay, where are those guys? Go.
I'm those not guys the GM of the Nets.
Well,
you give me Sean Marks' salary, I can give you the whole list.
Everyone said it is so hard to replace players who average 18 to 22 points a game. It's not like it's not like there's tons of them just floating around out here.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone said, well, I can trade whatever. Okay, who's giving up 18 to 22 points a game? Who? Go. Like, that's not happening. So, I think for many in the media, they say these things, but Mo, do you know how hard it is to replace that?
Yep.
Do you know how hard it is to get a player to average 18 points a game and a brand of basketball that you actually have an opportunity? Not that it guarantees that you will have an opportunity to win with. Okay? That's very difficult. So we say these things without, in my opinion, respecting the game. I think it's very disrespectful because these players like Jimmy Butler, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Giannis, these are really, really, really good players. And you don't just trade those. Well, let me just get a couple draft picks for that, and then you can get that player. No.
Well, that's what Brooklyn did when they traded away KD and Kyrie. So
but that was a unique set of there's a unique set of circumstances. However, when you're building a team, it's very, very tough to build a team around free agents. It almost never happens. It's a fun thing to do. It's a fun exercise. We love the big names. We love the headline trades. However, how many teams have actually built a team around free agency and have any sustainability? It's very hard to do. Mm-hmm. It's a math problem. Like if you want to just have fun and talk, okay, that's great. I don't have a problem with that. However, if you're trying to build something great, if you're trying to do something, you got to have a foundation. The foundation is the math of the equation. That's why most of these teams are built through the draft. That's why we covet the draft.
Yep.
And if we're going to covet the draft, that means we have to take on the responsibility of when we draft a Wembanyama, it's going to take some years. Now it's fun to watch OKC play. But just 2 or 3 years ago, Mo, they weren't. That's why they had an opportunity to draft Chet Holmgren and Williams and all the other players.
That's the value of the draft picks.
Yeah, if you're willing to go through the process, but you got to get it right. It doesn't even guarantee that you're going to get it right. You know what I mean? And like, Mo, there is no secret formula to this.
No.
Sometimes you might draft a player and he doesn't turn out to be the player you thought he's going to be.
No.
Sometimes that player may not even be available in the draft.
Yep. Well, speaking of building teams, another prediction that the AI has come up with is a major team will be caught in a salary cap scandal, leading to unprecedented penalties and the reshuffling of player contracts around the league.
All right, what does that mean?
Maybe it knows something we don't. Maybe it's seeing these contracts.
What does that mean?
I don't know. I assume, or what I can deduce from this is a salary cap scandal leading to unprecedented penalties and the reshuffling of player contracts across the league would be a player getting paid under the table for taking a discount in their contract or something to that extent. But there is no way that we could predict that or discuss that really, because we'll just have to wait for that to unfold. Some of these are kind of a little bit off base, but this is what the computer said. And if this does happen, then shout out to the computers, because we're all going to be jobless by the end of it if they know this already before it even happens. But that's 5 of them. On tomorrow's episode, we're going to give you the other 5 and react to those. Some of them a little bit more interesting than the ones we had today, so you don't want to miss that.
Can I just say something here?
Of
I
course.
respectfully disagree with those predictions because I don't think there's nothing unique about them. Like, what's unique about those predictions? You just say things with no accountability. So if it doesn't happen, do we just like dismiss it?
Yes.
Yeah.
If none of these happens, I will never do this again. But if some of them are true, then I'm gonna look at it next year. That's the way I see it. We're going to check out 5 more on tomorrow's episode. Make sure you lock in, subscribe, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcast from. And most importantly, get buckets.